Listen, y'all, with the busy fall season already in swing, you might be looking for convenient meals for these jam-packed days. Factor, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit, can help you fuel up fast for breakfast, lunch, and dinner with chef-prepared, dietitian-approved, ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door. So head to factormeals.com/WellRED50 and use the code WellRED50 to get 50% off. That's code WellRED50. Y'all know the deal. WellRED50 at factormeals.com/WellRED50 to get 50% off. Well, here we are. We're remote this week for a couple of reasons. The main reason is I forgot to book us any studio time, and that'll do it every time.
You could have just so easily gotten yourself off the hook with Drew being in the hospital, but I respect the fact that you can't lie.
Well, I almost did. I almost did put it on that, but like that really had nothing to do with it, frankly.
Right.
I just forgot to ask until yesterday at 5 p.m. and they were like, yeah, we're all booked up. So we're remote this week, but kind of sort of works out because Drew is Drew's had a hell of a time. Big old week since last week, and may not have even been able to make it or stay long. He may have to leave early today because Drew's in Babyland right now. And I'm sure it's wonderful and magical, but it's been also quite the odyssey, has it not?
Yeah. Hello, everyone. If you guys were listening last week, and I'm sure you guys were, you noticed that I wasn't here. That's because we were in labor. And if you're good at math, and I'm not, that means we went into labor a week ago, and I'm still in the hospital. So, yeah, things, I guess they did not go as planned. We do have, let me bury the lead here. We do have the result we were going for, which is today, hopefully within the hour or two, me, Andi, and Rosco Silas Morgan will be released from this wonderful but ultimately, we'll say, unfortunate place that is most hospitals. Yeah, I don't know where to start. Let me say, if anyone's pregnant or thinking about getting pregnant, I guess it's really, truly not just trying to be woke. Trigger warning, because what happened with us is extremely rare. And it's not going to happen to you if you're about to have a baby. You're just going to go totally different. But yeah, where you guys want me to start? All right.
Well, I don't know.
Wherever you want, buddy.
Yeah, about to say, I don't know how much you do or do not want to talk about.
I also just, before you get going, I kind of want to just get your general thoughts on, like, what it was like as soon as you saw, because this was, mine went really good and yours was tumultuous. So I assume the baby coming out was a release of several emotions, on top of them all, probably pure joy, correct?
I would say relief more than joy.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
The time frame was, so when he came out, all right, I gotta, I guess, give some context, and I don't want to give too much because Andi and I think, are still processing this, and we're okay physically, and I think we're okay otherwise, but it's been a little difficult. To be blunt, Andi lost a lot of blood because her uterus ruptured after she got put on the Pitocin. That's extremely rare, and it's extremely rare for women who haven't had C-sections in the past. Usually when that happens, it happens along the C-section scar where a uterus has already been weakened. Hers did not. It's very rare. Even though it's rare, once it happens, it's a critical situation. More, death is on the table. So, and then also understand, we didn't know that. The reason she went in for the emergency C-section was Roscoe's heartbeat was dropping. As they were preparing to do that, my man's crying right now. I would show y'all, but Andi just tits out to the moon, baby.
Yeah, boy. Dude, and by the way, them tits going to stay out forever. Yeah. Amber still hasn't put hers up. They just stay out.
Yeah, it just lifts up the bottom of their skirt, and there they are.
Yep.
So.
Nice.
Yeah. I still got it. So. They were doing the C-section because of Roscoe's heart rate. There was an old boy anesthesiologist. I gotta shout my man out. Now, when I met him, this dude he was behind a mask, but he was red-faced, like drunk red-faced. Like, he had broken capillaries. He was mouth breathing.
Yeah.
And saying things like, "Do you want me to like take a video so you can see me put this in your spine?" And Andy was like, "No. The fuck is..." And I literally had the thought, this drunk old boy going to paralyze my wife.
Yeah.
Well, that was probably one of many times I misread a person. So I guess they're going in to do a C-section. I'm scrubbed up. It's the middle of the night. I woke up in a haze. Andy had called them in because she had stomach pain. I didn't know that she had done that. When I woke up, they're already in the room. And I'm like annoyed. I'm like, why is there 2 nurses in here? Andy's saying her stomach hurts. She's like, I think I got to fart. Or no, one of them was like, maybe you got a fart. And he was like, I don't think that's what it is.
She'd have farted.
And they were like, we need to start thinking about a C-section. And I was like, all right, well, me and Andy need to discuss that. She very much, you can hear my boy, she very much didn't want to do that. She wanted to do a vaginal birth. She didn't even want to be at the hospital. We went to the hospital because the home birth was taking so long. The midwife was like, we got to be somewhere else because I can't induce you without Pitocin. The 3-day labor and the fact that it was a 42-week pregnancy probably had something to do with what happened. The Pitocin on top of that probably had something to do with what happened. Anyway, they're in the room. They're like, we got to start thinking about a C-section. According to them, it wasn't really an emergency yet. They were trying to get her in a position where when she had contractions, his heart rate wouldn't drop. And they just couldn't do it. So they're like, yeah, we're going to definitely have to do a C-section. I was like, I know it's not what you wanted, baby. We got to protect Rosco. You can hear him right now. He tried to get that titty in his mouth. And I'm scrubbed up. Got the full scrubs on. I'm ready to go. We're going to give her local anesthesia. We're on the way in. We're waiting on the doctor at that point. Nurse Patty comes in and says, we're not waiting on the doctor. He'll meet us there. We have, a different surgeon here, and we got to get started. I'm like, all right, let's go. I'm walking, and then another nurse comes through, and remember old boy?
Mm-hmm.
Well, apparently, old boy was like, I'm not giving her local anesthesia. I'm putting her under. There's something wrong with her. At this point, everyone was like, we got to save the baby, we got to save the baby, we got to save the baby. Well, old boy's grunting around, thinking about trains, no doubt. He's like, no, because it takes longer to do local. And he's like, we're going all the way under, and we're doing this now. So he starts that. The surgeon shows up. They get in there, they open her up, and then that's where they discover that she is, and again, I'm sorry for people listening. I know this is heroin, bleeding to death.
All right.
Inside, internally?
Yeah, the backside of her uterus had a 3-centimeter cut.
Wow.
I don't know if my man tried to punch his way out because he'd been in there too long. I don't know what went down.
Yeah, going
That's
for
your boy.
alien chest burster mode.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, probably the long labor mixed with Pitocin can be hard on the uterus because it makes it contract.
Okay.
Cory, are you all right?
Yeah. It's funny. I was thinking yesterday that I was going to have a panic attack, and I was like, oh, I need to like chill out and shit. And like you just did start giving me like flashbacks and shit. And I was like,
I don't physically feel it, but I was thinking when you were talking about walking to the room and all this is happening, everybody saying all this stuff, I was thinking in my head, I was like, I don't know, like because with my newfound anxiety problems, I was like, I don't know if I could physically walk down that. Like they'd have to get me a wheelchair. I'm really feeling for it. Yeah. They'd have to give me a wheelchair, I think, because of like. Yeah. I know because when my anxiety gets real bad, it manifests. Be
like Johnny Depp
shaking,
and Blow,
like hardcore trembling in my legs and shit. And it's like I'd be a mess. Don't describe what I would be. It's like I know you got to be strong for everybody else, but like I'm saying, I don't know what I would do.
I didn't really know. I think at this point, like to me, like C-sections have become so routine. I knew that we needed to get the baby out, and I knew they were going to do it. And understand, I didn't know she was bleeding when she left. I just was told, you can't come in. Now, as far as my panic, it's funny. You guys probably remember this. Andy fainted one time, but she fainted in the bathtub.
Yeah, because you gave her a dog's pill.
Yeah. You guys know. Yeah. So she wouldn't wake up when that happened. And because she fainted while lying down, it looked weird. It didn't look like a normal faint.
Yeah.
So I thought she was dead then. Well, I'm bringing it all up to say I was having a panic attack when the firemen got there, and they made fun of me, literally. Like, you ever been laughed at by the hot fireman who's rubbing your wife's back?
My brother-in-law, yeah.
Yeah. There he is.
It's okay, buddy. Is that titty
Baby,
not
you
good
need
enough?
help? You want the formula?
I like this. This is a fucking, like, we're doing like a reality show right now.
Yeah, we're in the moment, ain't we?
Cribs.
That's pretty good. Cribs.
Cribs, yeah.
Whoop. So I hadn't panicked yet at that point that we were just talking about. You want me to? You got it? Need a nipple?
I like when you feed the baby at first because they can't take a lot, so it's like a little shot. You know what I mean? You're like,
well, remember he's 42 weeks. This boy drinking.
Oh right, yeah, right. Bane came a touch early, so that makes sense.
Yeah. So,
wait,
like,
hold on. Wait, just real quick. I never thought about that before. Like, but his birthday is 3 days ago or whatever, right? And it always will be. But like,
he's
he'll
more
always
developed.
be like older, kind of 2 weeks older than he actually is, like his whole life.
I don't know about like when puberty hits, if that's still true. But at the moment, and it's probably not 2 weeks. It's just that he was hungrier than Bane was. I don't really know how else to say it.
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, because they change like every single, like as soon as you have them every day, they change so much. So like he's been in there cooking.
Well, and both of mine came like 3 weeks early. So if they had been born on like the same day as yours, but 3 weeks early and yours are 2 weeks late, 5 weeks is like a lot of difference in a newborn. It's just weird that they'd both be newborns, but they'd be at such different stages.
Be able to.
They should be able to
drink.
I don't know how different they are. I do know. Yeah. I guess I'll get to this. That like that played into what happened with him when they got him out. So, I have been walking. Oh, you need some help? I hope y'all can hear that, so I'm not just saying y'all need some help.
No, we can hear it.
Okay,
yeah, I'm gonna take it out in post, so everybody thinks you're lying.
They had taken me to like the Preop Room, which is where they would be when they were done, right? And this is when things started getting weird. They told me that they were going to get her some blood. Women bleed during pregnancy.
Yeah.
I was still like trying to talk myself into like, this being like whatever, cool. It gets a little fuzzy here. Adrenaline had kicked in. This is where I almost had a panic attack. I hit my knees. I started to talk to God, then I laughed at myself and got up. I kept talking to God.
The very breath you gave me.
Yeah.
Take the heart from my chest.
Yeah. I talked to Andi. I did that. I was like, hey.
Like while she was under?
It was going on, and I was like, hey, I don't think you want to leave, so don't. A nurse came in and was like, is there anyone you can call to sit with you? And I'd been texting our friend Anna, who's Andy's very close with. And I was like, yeah. And I just texted Anna just because the nurse had just said that. I remember the moment I was looking down. The nurse, she's a labor nurse. She had fallopian tubes and sperm on her Crocs, like pictures of them.
Yeah, right.
So I'm like looking at this cartoon sperm, and this nurse is saying, "Is there anyone you can call?" And I texted Anna, and I was like, "I'm like, she's on her way." And then like a minute later, it hit me like, "Oh, that's the person that's going to drive me home." When they tell me my wife died.
Oh, Jesus, man.
And I was
Is
trying
that
to
really why they told you to do that? Like, you just had that thought, or like that's really what that was supposed to be?
Well, it was definitely like, this could go really bad.
You need someone here in case it, yeah, right, yeah.
Then they started telling me the baby was okay. And that was great. They were like, you have a beautiful, they accidentally gendered him. Then she lied. It was the same girl, the one with sperm on her shoes. Sperm shoes, accidentally gendered him, and then was like, I'm sorry. I don't even know. And I knew she was lying. And I was like,
could be a big clit.
I was like, it's fine. It doesn't matter. So she was like, you want to go see him? And I was like, yeah, can I hold him? And they were like, you can't hold him yet. And I go, then I don't want to go. I did not want, I couldn't leave that area by Andi.
Yeah, of course.
A few minutes later, they explained to me that I'll be even closer to her if I follow them to where he's at. I was allowed to touch him. I was like, well, can I touch him? And they were like, yes, you can't hold him, but you can touch him. I went, I saw him. He was beautiful. They asked me his name. I said Silas. Andy and I had not settled yet. Silas was involved in almost every name. It was either the middle or the first name of every idea we have. So I said that. I touched him, and I was like, I want to go back. Like, I got to be close to where she's at. And I felt, so then I see him bringing blood by, and the dude's kind of like walking. And I used that to like tell myself this is fine.
Yeah, he's been running.
I think though, like he probably wouldn't have been running because he could have spilled the blood all over the hospital, and then she definitely would have died. You know what I mean? I think it was actually probably not what I thought it was.
Imagine doing something like that. Imagine me doing that if I was an orderly or something. Like
while
I'm running blood down the hall, and I like comically fucking exactly.
Instead of going and getting more, you start
style.
You start explaining
blood bags.
You start explaining how it happened, and why you're sorry. I was around the corner. The reason I was hurrying is that she's actually.
Yeah.
They come and they say she's fine. Anna gets there. Our friend Anna gets there. This was very interesting. When Anna and I talked about it later. They come and say she's fine. And now I'm pure joy. Like the relief, like tears come to my eyes. It's like it's over, that she's going to be fine. And then they start explaining what happened. Well, Anna had just gotten there. So she and I have the exact reverse experience. I have been ready to jump out of a fucking window. I had some of the darkest thoughts I've ever had. Just awful, even for me. I've been ready to jump out of a window. Now they're like, she's fine. Pure elation. Anna doesn't really know what's going on. She just got there. She hears she's fine. Okay, cool. I'm in a good mood. And then he starts to explain what happened. Well, dude, at that point, I wasn't taking anything else in.
Of course.
It was all fucking great news. Didn't matter what came out of his mouth. She's alive. She's going to be fine. But then I watched Anna. Anna's Persian. She's very dark. I watched her turn white as they said things like, she lost 3.7 liters of blood. We didn't know that she was bleeding till we got in there. That was a very dicey situation. This is going to probably be a long road for the baby, et cetera, et cetera. Old boy comes back, and we're just sitting there listening, and the surgeon is saying all this, and man, I had one joke I wanted to do during this fucking whole thing, and then I blew it just now. I wanted to do one joke about how the surgeon was like, she lost all the blood, and, it was real dicey, and I was going to say, don't you hate it when they fucking brag? So he's like explaining things like calmly, which, as you should. And old Grunner comes up behind him and he just looks at Anna and he goes, that was real bad. She lost about half. He was
dude, that's almost two liters of imagine two liters of Pepsi being poured out, which I would, that's a horrible, sight anyways.
You have more blood when you're pregnant. You have 50% more. Everyone has about 5 liters. And if you're pregnant, you have about 7.5. So that's, keep that in mind, people listening. I can't wait for some asshole to be like, actually, that's impossible. Yeah, honestly, I didn't even plan on going this into detail, but I guess it just feels good to say it all. From there, for me, it was mostly just all elation. The next doctor I talked to was talking to me about Rosco. I said we'd get back to him they really thought he was going to be in the hospital for a month based on the way things went down. And he was just fine. He had to cough up some stuff. And the fact that he was without oxygen, her body stopped sending stuff to him and started taking care of her at some point. The fact that happened, they were worried about like neurological damage. They're not worried about any of that. He's already out. He got released before her. We're almost done because she's about to be released. But yeah, they were just like, and then one of the nurses said the fact that he's 42 weeks probably has something to do with that. He is strong and healthy and could take this. Yeah, I mean, after that, I had to wait on her to wake up. But things were, pretty much as you'd expect. she couldn't have him because he was in the NICU, and she couldn't get to him for a little while because of her own issues and pain. Once that finally happened, that's when the pure joy and the reality of both what happened and what didn't happen, what could have happened, set in for me. Like watching her with him for the first time was when I think I started to feel just pure love and joy and relief and happiness. And, you know, he took to her immediately. I mean, he latched immediately. He was like, "Oh man, I've been waiting on that. That's my titty."
Yeah, hell yeah.
We've had some trouble since then, as is to be expected. But since then, the surreal part for me, you know, there's no sleep. There's a lot of like weird emotions. You kind of go through something. Me and Anna are trauma bonded, which is very strange. Andi just woke up, you know, she's definitely had some moments processing this. I'm not trying to act like it hasn't been emotionally hard on her. Of course it has been, but she never knew. Andi went under thinking, "Please save my baby," and then woke up and they were like, "Hey, guess what? You were actually the one who was the closest."
Right. Yeah, that's wild.
And, you know, she's definitely had some emotions of processing, wow, I almost never met him, you know. But I have been really waffling between feeling the best I've ever felt and feeling really low. Like that is sort of my existence right now. And I think one of the people, like they had a counselor come talk to us and it was a nurse, but anyway, it doesn't matter. I guess that's like totally to be expected. It's like, that's all I got right now is living in that horrible moment and then being super pumped about what's going on. But we're on our way home. We're very excited to be going home. We're very relieved. And, you know, I do feel bad. Andi didn't have the ideal thing that she wanted. She wanted to do a home birth. She wanted to do a natural birth. She wanted this very intimate moment. I mean, that was a big part of it for Andi. Do this with me, you know, Anna and the midwife at our home where he'll live with us, have all these intimate moments. And that, it was the opposite of that. There were fucking 30 people and they're all talking to each other and they're all nervous and blah, blah, blah. But we're really, really, really lucky. You know, we went to the hospital because the midwife told us to, but she didn't tell us we had to.
Oh, wow.
It could have been, you know, a lot different. The anesthesiologist could have done things differently. The nurse who said we're not waiting on him to get here, he can meet us in there, could have done things differently. It's but I feel like I'm saying all this and I'm like sort of focused on that negative part that we went through. You know, since then we've had all these amazing moments. One nurse, the first time Andi met him, she couldn't walk. A nurse let her take her whole bed to the ICU. That's not in the rule book.
Yeah, right.
But they all knew because they all work with each other and they all work at different floors. They all knew what went down. This is extremely rare. Like there was like many doctors trying to come by and be like, "What happened?" You know, it's like when a comic kills with a new joke or whatever. It was like, "God damn, dude, you got to do one." I've been wanting to do one.
I think it's more like when Darren Knight got booed off stage at JFL. You know what I mean?
Yeah, everybody wanted to watch. You mean?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Or just everybody be like, "So what happened?" God damn! I ain't never heard no shit like that. That's crazy. Except like that was his fault, and this is not her fault. But yeah, you know.
And it really wasn't the surgeon's fault. But yeah, I said I've been talking a lot about all that stuff, and it was really hard, of course. But I would also like to say that after that, there's just been so many great moments when he came into our room. You know, when he got released from the NICU earlier than they said. You know, they were like, this could be first they were like, this could be a month long. Then they're like, it could be 2 weeks. Then they're like, it's going to be 3 or 4 days. And they were like, come take this fucking kid from us. He's perfect. You know, he's strong. He's too strong. We have to swaddle him a way that we just learned, not the way we had learned, because the regular way won't hold my man back. He wants his hands by his face and he'll just pull right out, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, I had planned on being a little less sharing and a lot more charming than I just was. But I did want to say, like, it's been pretty fucking great since then. Obviously, emotions have been high. Obviously, there's been some moments of sadness just for what all could have happened and not getting to do the plan the way we wanted to. Not to mention the financial side of this is going to ruin me forever.
Ain't that America?
But we've had so much joy since then. You know, I mean, you guys know, as dads, anybody who's a parent, just like he farts and it's the coolest thing that's ever happened.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he kind of half makes a face that's probably because he smelled my fart, but I'm convinced he smiled. That's the coolest thing that's ever happened.
Awesome.
So we've had a lot of that too. We've been trying to not pretend like we didn't go through something, but just like hang on to that.
What's great is that don't go away. It hasn't for me yet. Like, you know, Bane's only 7 months old, but like you still get to experience so many firsts. Like I remember when we were in the hospital, obviously we had a way better go of it than y'all did, but like the second night we were there, I turned on the TV and there was a Stone Cold Steve Austin, biography on, and he was sitting in my lap, and out loud I just went, I'm watching wrestling with my son. And then like 2 seconds later it hit me and I started fucking bawling my eyes out because I was like, holy fuck, that's so cool. Have you done the thing that happened? I don't know if it happened to Trae, but it happened to me, where I don't know how much you've slept or napped since all of this happened, knowing you probably not a lot, but like every time I would wake up, and this lasted for a couple weeks. Every time I would wake up, I would like remember that I was a father, and it would freak me the fuck out again. You know what I mean? Like you take a little nap, you wake up, and you're like, wait, what? Oh shit, there he is.
I've had more of and I know I'm sure both of you experienced this too, but this is a big part of what I've been having, and it sucks. I've been having the wake up and is he alive? And then I've also had, is she alive?
Yeah,
and
right.
That will fade, I think, especially with her.
The second part, well, I don't know. The second part for sure will. I was gonna say with the kid, it doesn't, but it definitely does. It definitely does fade. But like I've said this before, I think on here, but like I remember one time, you know, a few years ago, not all that long ago, but before she was in a nursing home, like I saw Mima do that to Uncle Tim because he was dozing on the couch, like. Yeah. Uncle Tim's like 60 years old or whatever, you know, Mima's 80. And she like, he was dozing on the couch and she like walked over and like put her hand up and under his nose or whatever to like check to see if he was still breathing or whatever. I
still do that to Bane.
So like, and I don't like go and check that they're still breathing, but like, I mean, there will be times where, you know, I don't know. I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I'll just like,
it's a new fear, dude.
I don't know. You'll check on it, but it will fade because I know what you mean. At that stage, it's like you just sit there and stare at him. You're like, you're breathing, convinced. Right? He is breathing, right? Like you think that all the time. Yeah.
I want to get back to that thread because that's a good one and we can talk about broader experiences. But I want to say something before I forget, and I hope everyone's not paused this to go doing the thing I'm about to say. Please don't write me or Andy with your own traumatic story. Not because I'm not
classic our fans.
Well, I just don't want to. I really don't want her. Andy's very empathetic. I don't want her to have to be reminded over the next 2 weeks of what happened, and then think about the fact that it happened. I'm certain that something similar has happened to some of y'all, and I'm so sorry, and it sucks. And I'm not saying don't eventually share that, but like maybe in 2 years, let's talk about it. It's still very raw for us. I asked Andy's permission to talk about this today, but I gave myself the caveat to let everybody know, like, but leave us alone. Like, it's fine to be like, I'm so glad y'all are okay, love you, and we really, really, really appreciate that. But like, don't try to like, what's the word?
Relate,
not because you can't, just because we don't want to relate right now.
Yeah, you're still going to get them for the record.
Yeah, that was a good move. I was about to say that was definitely a good move on your part with this particular outfit.
Well, you know, it's natural.
You know, these motherfuckers. But
it is natural.
They got the stories, and they love to share them.
Well, and like she's had some friends.
Sad stories,
right? Well, she's had some friends reach out who've gone through some stuff, and I think that's helpful. It's just sometimes when it's like somebody you kind of just know from the internet, maybe it's not the move right now. So I just wanted to say that. As far as the thread we were getting at, like, yeah, man, I definitely wake up and like, oh shit, that's my son. But at the moment, unfortunately, it's followed by a little bit of anxiety. But I think all that's going to fade, not completely ever, as you guys said, but maybe get to a normal amount, hopefully relatively soon. I'm going to go ahead and say this, you know, talking about parents. My parents are on the way. My mama about to be here. My mama going to make me feel a lot better.
Oh yeah,
just by existing, and she's gonna help Andi too.
What's that like?
Sorry, Trae.
That's yeah. Can you guys explain to me what that feels like a little bit? That must be cool.
Corey, I'll take this one.
Yeah, right.
It's pretty.
Because I cannot imagine that. Because it's the exact opposite for me.
Makes you weak.
I know how to make you understand it. How we feel when our mama gets there is how you feel when yours
mine leaves. Yes, right. Okay, that does help. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, you know, what's it like being a hollow but strong man? Do you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Trae, like, what's that like? What's it like not being a mama's boy?
Listen, guys, with the busy fall season already in swing, you might be looking for wholesome, convenient meals for these jam-packed days. Well, Factor, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit, can help you fuel up fast for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. With chef-prepared, dietitian-approved, ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door, you'll save time, eat well, and stay on track with your healthy lifestyle. Ever since I found Factor, they have become my go-to for lunch every single day. In fact, I don't know what I'd do for lunch without them anymore, and I'm not just saying that. Katie's on the same page. We have become big fans because I don't have time at lunchtime to make a whole meal or even a sandwich sometimes, you know. So if you're too busy this fall to cook, but you want to make sure you're still eating right, with Factor, you can skip the extra trip to the grocery store and the chopping, prepping, cleaning up too, while still getting the flavor and nutrition quality you need. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are ready in just 2 minutes every time. So all you have to do is heat and eat, then get back to crushing your goals. Corey, tell them about it.
Oh my God, you can adjust your stride this autumn without even missing a step. Choose from 35 plus weekly flavor packed, fresh, never frozen meals that promote healthy lifestyle and meet your meal preferences, all ready to eat in 2 minutes. Relish the best of autumn, my friends, with fall flavors. Limited time only, hearty, comforting meals featuring seasonal veggies like cranberry pecan chicken and apple Dijon pork chops. Ready in just 2 minutes. They'll satisfy your fall cravings during the busy season. Or you can level up with Gourmet Plus options prepared to perfection by chefs and ready to eat in record time. Treat yourself to upscale meals with premium ingredients like broccolini and leeks, truffle butter, oh my God, and asparagus. Drew, you're a big fan of Factor, ain't you?
I'm a huge fan of Factor. As you boys may know, I've been trying to stick to the keto diet on and off now for about 4 months, and I tell you what makes it easy. Having 6 meals right there at the ready, boom, 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 and I just heat them up and eat them up. Another thing y'all know about me, I'm a big sauce man. But what you may not know about eating keto, most of your favorite sauces, they're out, full of sugar and carbs, not on the Factor keto plan. They got amazing sauces, butter, cream, cheese, all kinds of nice bases in them sauces. They're delicious and they're easy, and I like it. Also, my muscles are getting big.
You do look good.
Thank you.
So here's what y'all can do. Head to factormeals.com/WellRED50 and use the code WellRED50 to get 50% off. That's half off, y'all. Use the code WellRED50. That's WellRED50 at factormeals.com/WellRED50 to get 50% off today. Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, we don't have to move on completely, but I would like to stop talking about the trauma. I guess we could talk about, I got to get him home now and get used to it. Oh, I wanted to talk about this with you guys. I wanted to run this by both of you. I feel like for me so far, and this might be related to the anxiety I have because of what happened, this is extremely hard. Like, he was up all night, he was crying a lot, he didn't want this bottle, he spit up, all that stuff. But to me, it's not hard because it's hard. It's hard because it feels so fucking huge. It's like, dude, like, waking up for 30 minutes and going back to sleep ain't a big deal. It's that for those 30 minutes, I'm like, oh God, he's going to die. Or, oh God,
it's mentally,
yes, it's mentally exhausting.
It's mentally fucking exhausting. I would say that, like, most of when people say it's hard, I think what they really mean is like, I'm very tired and it's mentally exhausting. And like, again, that does get better. Like, Bane, like, obviously I still have to feed Bane. He still gets me up, but like, I'm so firmly enveloped in the routine that I know everything's going to be okay or whatever. But like, yeah, dude, you just going, it's just something you got to get used to. But yeah, man, like, especially after the bullshit that you went through, like, why wouldn't your brain go to an insanely dark, like, you're in fucking survival mode, which is hard.
Well, even when it's not dark though, it's like the weight of this. Do you understand? Like, I'm like, no, it's not hard to be awake right now. It's annoying, but I'm quite capable of that. It's like, what's so hard about being a new parent is that you feel like everything is so important.
Yes.
So you're just like, the most important thing in the world right now that I've ever done is this task, and then the next task, and then the next task. When I go walk the dog, there's like a weird relief. I missed him immediately, and I come right back. But there's like it's nice not to be in the room where I'm afraid the thing's going to stop living.
Yeah, for sure. And you'll look back on that and be like, why was I so worried? That's such a mundane thing. But like, yeah, man, absolutely. Like, you know, like feeding a baby is how you do it no different than watering flowers. It's just that if you water the flowers wrong, who gives a fuck gets some new flowers? You know what I mean?
Exactly. Do you agree with that, Trae? Go ask Katie.
Kinda no. Well, because I was gonna say, if I had a kid now, or especially if I had my first kid now, I'd be racked with all that, I know. But at 25, I mean, honestly, not really. I did the thing where like I'd wake up and I'd be like, he is breathing, right? He's still breathing, or whatever. I did that, but I was not plagued with anxiety about fucking it all up or it going wrong or something being bad. Like that type of shit never really entered my mind back then. If I had a kid now, I know for a fact it would, because I'm very different mentally in a way that don't hit. And so I know I'd have that now, but no, who I was and how old I was when I had mine, I didn't really have to deal with that, which I suppose now retroactively I'm grateful for.
Yeah, I told my mom that the reason that we are designed to have kids younger than ostensibly any of us are ready to, like we can all procreate as humans before we're really ready to, is if you wait too long, you'll talk yourself out of it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, right. It's just crazy.
Of course.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah, that's definitely part of it. But no, I never even really thought about any of that until y'all just talked about it, and I was listening to you, and I was like, yeah, I don't remember feeling that way. But again, I was 25-year-old dipshit, or whatnot.
Yeah, what is it? The something of youth. What's that phrase?
Folly? Blissful, ignorant, the folly of youth.
I don't know. I was going to show you my man, but he's on the tit right now.
From a financial standpoint, and a mental maturity and all that shit standpoint, like in my mind, it's like I had Bane at the exact fucking right time. But all that stuff you were just saying. However, leading up to him getting here, I had so many different conversations in my head that 23-year-old Cory, who thought the world would never end and everything was going to work out, would have never fucking thought of. You know what I mean?
Well, because I used to tell people when they talk about maybe having babies or whatever, and I used to be like you guys are saying, it's like if you water the plant wrong, no one cares, but if you fuck this up, it's like worrying about that type of shit. I was like the opposite. I tell people all the time. I was like, dude, you figure it out. I was like, it's like,
and you do.
I was like, it's instinctual. It comes to you. I was like, it's not a big deal. Like you figure it out. Because that was how I felt, like
I don't
that was
feel
how
like
I always felt about it.
No, that makes sense. And I always heard you say that and I believed it. And it's already happening. I don't think I'm sitting there feeding him like I'm going to fuck this up. It's like this feeling of like this being the most important thing in the world. To feel like that all the time is exhausting. That's really what I'm getting at. It's like, that's what's so tiring about this is that it has to be done and it has to be done now. And
that part is true. Especially once you get like sick or something,
right?
You know what I mean? You're both sick. You and Andy are both sick as fuck. Like it ain't gonna matter to him at all,
right?
Or like
or her
hungover, right?
Yeah.
Like again, my 20, that was a big part of me finally cutting back a little bit because a toddler, a baby, don't give a fuck if you're hungover, like all that type of shit. Yes, that part's true. Where it's like there are no days. Like I remember, dude, not to bring trauma back into it, but like when Bishop was 1-ish and Benton was like being born and was a newborn, my dad was dying of pancreatic cancer, and there were people in Salina, and Benton also, I don't know if y'all remember or ever even knew, but when he was born, he was real little. He got RSV, which is not that big of a deal, but it's like for a newborn, it's potentially a big deal.
Right.
And like he was having trouble breathing and all this stuff. And my dad died when he was 2 weeks old. So like Benton was born, he got RSV. My dad dies 2 weeks later. During this period, like, people in Salina are texting me and stuff, Purple, my sister, whoever, being like, listen, I think you need to get up here. Like, cause it ain't looking good or whatever. And I was texting back. I was like, okay, but like, what if my baby dies? You know what I mean? It's like I got a sick baby. I got a sick dad and a sick baby. It's like, I think he would want me to stay here. It's like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, and everybody, did kind of get that, but then I ended up just going up there, right at the very end, basically. But I can't even remember why I brought that up or how it was relevant.
You're just talking about how hard it is, dude. It's like it's hard. Like,
oh no, you cannot. The whole there is no option of not dealing with this or whatever, that type of thing. It's like I'm saying, like I had a dad who was dying of cancer, and I felt like I could not leave because I was like, cannot leave Katie here with a 1-year-old and a newborn with fucking breathing problems and RSV and shit. And in fact, I didn't leave until her mom drove up and got to our house. So that I could leave. Right. Yep. Like her mom got up there and she was like, now go be with your family or whatever. But yeah, that whole thing of like there. And I remember afterwards, my sister, Paige, she just tore all to hell because of course she was. Right. And I was all fucked up to, I bottle things up and all that shit. So I was more fucked up than I let on. But like Paige's, I went back to living my life and all this. And I remember Paige being like, I can't do anything. I can't function. I'm so racked with grief and all this stuff. She's like, I don't understand how you're doing any of this. I was like, Paige, I don't have an option. I was like,
for sure.
I was like, I have no choice. I was like, I have 2 babies. Like, what am I? It's not up to me. Like, I don't have the option.
Did he freeze or
collapsing?
Okay. No, he did. He'll be back.
I don't have the option of collapsing into grief. Right now. Like, I can't because it really do be like that. You know what I'm saying?
It do be like that. And honestly, like there's parts of that are like, it sounds all horrible, but like and I'm not in any way advocating, by the way, hey, if you're depressed, having a baby will solve it. Don't do that. That is insane. But I will say this, having that thing that is I literally cannot wallow today. I can't. It doesn't matter if I fucking want to. I can't. Has honestly really it's a good thing in a way. Like it's hard when you do, because I've had some other things happen with my friends and family over the past couple months, and like I've basically had to be like, look, Amber's at work and I've got to take care of the kid and I'm very sorry, but like this is my obligation. I have to take care of this kid. And like I have a sense of purpose unlike I have ever had in my life. I've always wanted to achieve things. Like I've always been a very driven person. I'm a hard worker. I'm goal oriented. But like, bruh, I've never been in my life more focused on being anything than I have been like being a good dad. Like it encompasses me. I think it makes everything else better. But like for all the negatives of like, holy shit, I'm obligated for this. Like I love that part of it, honestly.
Well, that's like, it reminds me of that whole thing we just described. It's like, we have no other choice. We have to do this. And it's like, I remember there'd be times when the boys were real little and they didn't even know really what they were asking, but they'd be like, well, I don't know. I don't even know where they get the idea, but they'd ask something like, because they don't understand money or something. Back, what if we run out of money completely? What if we can't buy food? What if we don't have a house anymore? 3-year-olds ask you shit like that. They don't even understand what they're asking. But I remember, telling them like, it's like, that's not going to happen. They're like, how do you know? And I'm like, because that's just not an option.
I ain't going to fucking let it.
Like, that's not like that whole thing. There's this is corny, but there's this scene in Fargo season 2 where Patrick Wilson's character is talking about that with Kirsten Dunst's case. He's talking about that exact thing, and he was like, that's the boulder that all men push. He's like, that's the burden that all of us carry. He was like, and we act like it's our burden, but really it's our privilege.
Of course.
Right? And that shit gives me chills every time I watch it. I'll go back and just rewatch that scene sometimes just because of that, because like that's how hard it hits for me.
So yeah, one of the coolest things, this is really directly related to that. One of the reasons my parents are coming, they were already planning on coming, is because I have a thing I'm supposed to do coming up, and I haven't decided if I'm going to do it or not. It's a big opportunity for me and my family. It could be, or it could be nothing, because we are in the weirdest and worst industry in the world. But I don't know if I don't know if I can. I don't know if I should. But I talked to my dad about it. I was like, hey, I was planning on being out of town this weekend. I don't know if I can now, but even if I can, I don't know if I should. And we had this conversation, and I laid it all out for him, and he was like, well, first of all, there's no right or wrong answer here. You're going to have 100 of these in the next month. They may not be as big or direct as this, but the rest of your life is trying to do what's best for your family And, Drew, I'm a realist. You got to have money. Yep. I work the way, now your situation this weekend is different and blah, 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 but it was a really memorable and important conversation to me that I think I'll remember for the rest of my life, where my dad was just very matter of fact, as he always is, and he didn't pull any punches, but he and we had a real good talk about, like, we're talking about my comedy career, we're definitely talking about my ego, and we can't pretend like we're not, but we're also talking about how I make money right now and the best way I know to make money right now, at least quickly. And anyway, he didn't pull any punches, but he was just very blunt about what you were just talking about, Trae. And he said to me, this is never going to go away until they're completely grown, and even then it kind of will still be there. And he said, and you're not going to want it to.
Right.
And that was the part that was like touched on what you were saying, Trae. He was like, I know this sounds like hard and all that, but like, he didn't say privilege, but that's kind of what he was, describing. I am, though, I'm going to have to go. We have a thing that we got to do to get out of here.
Get out of there, please, God. Get the hell out of there.
We definitely need to get out of here.
All right.
Well, thanks for sharing, buddy. I'm glad everything worked out. Obviously, congratulations. And all
right.
Enjoy that babe.
Thanks.
Well, there Drew went. What a tumultuous experience he's had. Over here in my parenting life, Benton is away from home for the first time overnight right now for 2 days.
What's he doing?
They out here, we never did nothing like this. I don't know if y'all did, especially not in like 5th grade. But out here in 5th grade in particular, they take a 3-day, 2-night trip to Big Bear, to this like science camp. The whole class does. So
we did that in Washington, D.C. Yeah, actually.
Yeah, see, we never, of course, we fucking
My mama
didn't.
was a chaperone, though.
Bro, I remember like we went to like Six Flags in Atlanta or something. We left at 4 a.m, and drove down there and came back that night, like shit like that.
Yeah.
Like we had no money, no resources we never did nothing that fucking hit.
I think
anyway,
it might have just been the gifted class. I can't remember, but.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was in the gifted class. Know how my gifted class worked. Fucking we were in special ed. Like I literally was in gifted doing special ed homework because the teacher didn't want to make them feel any different than us or whatever. Because all the gifted kids were,
even though they were already riding a different bus and in a different classroom.
Yeah, right. But for anybody that don't, I had a bit about this for a while, and I might try to bring it back because I feel like I never it used to annoy me because it was never hitting as hard as I thought it should, because I think it's hilarious. But it's true. Like, gifted in most school districts falls under the larger umbrella of special education, right? That's true everywhere usually. But so in Salina, because it's such a tiny school and the resources are so strapped and so limited and all that, and it's such an impoverished area, that means that in my high school, there was one classroom for all special education activities. And that included gifted. So me and the other 4 or 5 gifted kids were in a classroom with the special ed kids, including the ones who were cataclysmically R-worded, right? Medically speaking. That's the classroom where Skybone went.
Tell the story.
So the very, 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 very profoundly mentally handicapped kid that was in our class, he was sitting, we call him Big D, right? Because, of course, he was big and strong, naturally. Big old dick, too.
Big old dick.
Because he pull his whole pants and underwear down to piss in the bathroom every time. Classic stuff, right?
Did I ever tell you Big Ed's theory on why those types of people have huge dicks?
Because they don't have enough blood in their brain, or they got extra blood that don't need to run their brain or something like that.
It was that God makes your dick and your brains out of the same stuff, and he starts from the bottom up. So if he accidentally gives you too much dick, he don't have any left to go up, which is oftentimes why really smart people have tiny dicks.
Well, that's actually because I don't know how far he went with the bit or whatever, but as a premise, there's a whole lot of meat on that bone, because we all know that dudes think with their dicks. You know what I mean?
Yes.
There's definitely something there, totally. So Big Ed was onto something. But anyway. Yeah, Big D, he sat in the back every day. He had his own computer, and he's just back there doing, clicking around on animal noises or counting 1 through 50 or whatever. I'm saying, dude, like he couldn't do much, right?
Of course,
like,
yeah.
And so he sat in the back of the classroom on the computer, clicking around on stuff with his headphones on every day. And everybody mostly just ignored him, left him back there to do his thing or whatnot. And after weeks of class, we found out that Skybone, right, who was who was one of the like black kids I went to school with. I mean, Skybone from Facebook.
Yeah.
You remember, and in my grade my whole life, grew up with him, and I love Sky, but he was in special ed, and we found out weeks in that he'd been coming to class early and going back there every day before the teacher got in there and playing 3-6 Mafia in Big D's headphones that he wore every day. So he was sitting back in the back, clicking around his computer here, like slob on my knob, like corn on the cob. Check in with me and do your job. Yeah, fucking dude. I thought that was one of the funniest goddamn things I'd ever heard in my life when I found out that because he didn't tell nobody for weeks. Dude. Like he just went back there, he would just go back there and do it every day for weeks before anybody found out.
That's the funniest part to me, and also the sweetest part to me, because
he's just hooking him up,
That's what I'm saying. If he's not telling anybody, he's not doing it to hit for people. It seems like he's like, you know what, man? This might be the only way he ever hears Juicy J, and that fucking sucks. So I'm gonna make it happen. God.
So anyway, we never took no overnight trips, but they do out here, and that's where Benton is, and Katie's all. She ain't been crying or nothing at all, but she keeps just been like, it's so weird. It's so weird without Benton being here and all this stuff, which I mean, it is. So that's where my head has been at lately for a while now. Like, and you and Drew having babies is a huge part of it. I just wrote Benton a note before he left.
No.
Well, I mean, I'm obviously happy to do it, but I don't know that I would have had the idea to do it if like the teachers hadn't said like, hey, there's a part of this where we read parent notes if you want to write a note or whatever. So, but of course,
how fucking long was yours?
It was just a page front and back. And I ended it by saying like, I know you've been rolling your eyes throughout this whole thing. So I'm going to stop now. Cause of course they're like he left there saying, Katie's like, can I get a hug? And he's like, no. And she's like, okay, love you.
I'm not ready for that, dude. I'm not ready for that.
Mine have always been that way as little boys. Except when they were like real little
kids. Yeah.
When they're, I mean, since they've been like school age, which comes back to the whole thing I'm trying to say. I put it in the letter that I wrote to him. I was like, I don't know if you're aware, but Cory and Drew both have had babies this year, and it's made me think a whole lot about how big you and your brother are getting. And all of a sudden the letter was like, I just can't believe it or whatnot. But, internally it's like, profoundly bittersweet.
Of course. I mean? Yeah, because you're doing your job, they're growing.
I used to always say like I just think sometimes it's like, they're not little anymore and they'll never be little again.
Ever.
Like that period of my life is over forever.
Yeah. It really makes you.
And they're so sweet when they're little and all this stuff. And also I'm dreading kind of the full-blown teenage years. They're tweens right now. And they're both real good kids. They probably won't be hellions, I hope. But like, it's just, it's what's supposed to happen, and you're happy to see it and all that. But I'd tell people when they were younger, I'd be like, when I'm 44, 45, 44, I think. When I'm 44, both my kids will be grown and off to college and all that stuff. That's still pretty young and whatnot. But now that I'm more than halfway there, I'm just looking at them like, fucking stop. Please stop. But except, of course, I don't want them to stop.
Of course.
But I'm just saying, I just want to slow down time because I just cannot fucking believe. Like we took Bishop started middle school this year, and we took Bishop to middle school the first day, and I was looking around and I was like, what kind of after school special shit is this? These fucking kids are like they're like walking around with skateboards and fucking holding hands and shit. I swear I saw them vaping and stuff. Not literally, but it felt like that. You know what I mean? Because it's like he's in school with the 7th and 8th graders.
Right.
And it's like a fucking like, a trashier CW show or something is what it looks like over there, because they're not all supermodels. Although we are in Burbank, so, a lot of good-looking kids over there.
Yeah, when Amber, speaking of Bane growing up, when we first had Bane, like, Amber, pretty soon after that, Amber was talking about, she was like, well, she's like, obviously I don't care, but it would be really neat if our next one is a girl. And I'm hearing this and I'm just going, because, it took us a long time to get pregnant. It was a whole thing. And I was like, fucking next one. And in my brain, I'm like, holding Bane, I was like, I can't compute right now being able to give everything I have for him to something else. Like I can't. Like in my brain, I'm like, there. I know that I will. I know that I will. But I was like, in my brain, I'm like, how could I love something, more? And then I was also like, hey, why don't we just have one and do it really good with this one? And now that he's getting to where he doesn't want to sleep on my chest as much and all this stuff, I'm like, oh, this is why people start getting baby fever, even if they've got a couple, because the baby part is so fleeting, but so awesome that like Amber could probably talk me into having 1 million. You know what I mean?
I just also, even at 20 something, I mean, that's why Benton happened. Like Bishop was not on purpose. I was 24 when she got pregnant. She was 25. Like we definitely were not planning that. We had long-term plans with each other. Talked about getting married. We lived together already and all that, but we weren't planning on having babies yet. So he happened, accidentally. But after he happened, like Benton was like he was planned because we both talked about it and we both agreed. But like the thing is, your experience with getting pregnant was very different, and like Drew's experience with the pregnancy was very different. For us, we didn't have any of that. We both agreed. We were like, we didn't want to have an only child. Like, I never really had. And like I said, your circumstances are different, and so are Drew's. I wouldn't blame either of y'all for not doing it again. I totally get it. But like when I was thinking about having kids when I was younger and stuff, I was always like, yeah, I don't want an only child. I'd rather them have somebody to grow up with and, and that type of thing.
I completely agree, but my only argument was like he's got so many cousins that are gonna be like close to him.
That's true. Literally, see, I don't have that, but that's a good point. Right. Yeah,
and that was my point to Amber. She's like, I don't want him to grow up as an only child, and I was like, okay, but he won't really grow up like your prototypical only child because our families are ridiculously close.
Right.
He's got 2 cousins that he can literally walk to their house where his grandpa's right there. He's got Laura James. I was like, so just if that's your only reason for wanting to have another one, maybe think it through. But I would love to have, I would love to have a little girl. I might be the only. Now, obviously, I didn't give I just wanted a healthy baby. But most dudes around here, like, it really pisses me off because I see it with people that I know. They'll do like a gender reveal, and the husband will be like visibly mad when it's a girl. And it's like, first off, dude, maybe fake it because you look like an asshole right now. And I was not in any way disappointed when I found out Bane was a boy, but I actually was like leaning girl because I had, been helping raise Laura James and I love, little girls. So like, I would dig that. But, so at the end of the day, I'm going to do whatever the fuck Amber wants to do.
Sure.
Let's just say that because that's what I did in the first one because as you know, I wasn't against having a kid, but I also was not like, oh my God, we've got to have a kid. I was just like, hey, whatever you decide to do, I'll either be the best father ever or we'll be the most fun couple that can drop anything and go to France whenever. Now that we've had it, I cannot even put myself back in the headspace of me not wanting it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I can't even like, what the fuck was my life before? What the fuck was I doing that mattered? Or what the fuck was I worried about? Like what stresses did I have, for the love of God?
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a wild, wild, wild thing, baby. It sure is. I think we should.
You know what else is wild, Trae?
What? That we have a book out?
We have a fucking book out. HarperCollins just sent me a whole bevy of them to my house.
What are we supposed to do with those?
Well, I think you're supposed to sell them on the road, probably. And
I don't think so.
Well, they're just ours then. I think we send them to our friends.
I'm not saying I shouldn't be selling them on the road. I mean, the ones they send to me, I don't think are for that purpose. We should know, but we don't.
I'm just going to hang on to them, maybe give them to my famous friends. It's like, hey, you hit. And I hit, and here's a book I wrote that hits. It's called Here and Over Yonder. It's a hillbilly travel guide. It's selling like crazy. We were #1 in England travel over the weekend, which is wild, and #1 in travel writing and commentary on Audible. You can get it. I would suggest that you get it on Audible. That's just me. Look, I say get both. Get the physical copy so we can sign it one day and you can read along, but get the Audible. It's us reading it. It's great. I love it. Get it now wherever you get your books or in the link of this podcast. Trae, what do you have going on?
I got a private event this weekend, but next Wednesday through Saturday, I'll be in Washington State, Spokane, and then Tacoma. So come and see me up there. Then I got Boston coming up and the Carolinas. I don't know. Go to TraeCrowder.com. Come and see me. yeah, listen to weekly skews and putting on airs, make it hit.
That's right. Listen to Putting on Airs, all those stuff in the Skewniverse. Also, parttimefunnyman.com. That is where you will find my latest audio dramedy, Colonel Cornbread in the Case of the Confederate Ruby. Episode 4 just came out this week. We are plumb smack dab in the middle of this. We're starting to get some clues. I think I know who did it. Maybe you do. That's Colonel Cornbread in the Case of the Confederate Ruby at parttimefunnyman.com. Thank you all for listening to the WellRED Show. We'd love to stick around longer, but we got to go. Tune in next week if you got nothing to do. Thank you. God bless you. Good night and skew.
Bart.
This episode is brought to you by the new book, Round Here and Over Yonder, written by authors Trae Crowder and Corey Ryan Forrester. That's ya boy. The book is out now. I would like to thank everyone who did the pre-order, but for those of you who were like, you know what, I want to wait and actually go to a bookstore and pick this thing up, well, you can do that right now. Round Here and Over Yonder, a front porch travel guide written by 2 progressive hillbillies. Parenthetical, yes, that's a thing. We love long titles, but we love making you laugh even more. This book is chock full of jokes. We chock filled it too. It's got a bunch of jokes in it. It's really, really, really fun. We tried to take the stereotypes of certain regions, talk about what they are, talk about what they got right, talk about what the actual reality is. Of course, we did it with our own little region here in the South. We went everywhere else in the United States, and for the first time in our lives, we went to the UK. It's Rednecks Abroad. The book is Round Here and Over Yonder. Not to brag on us, but I will. It is hilarious. Pick it up now wherever you get books. And by the way, we narrated the audio version if that's how you want to digest it. But there is no wrong way. Round Here and Over Yonder, wherever you get your books. Do it in indie.